Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Loth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you?
I'm good. How was your Christmas? Did you get a good Christmas haul?
Okay. A haul? I got a couple of books.
Oh. I got some ice molds, some ice trays, and a watch holder. I didn't get a watch, but like one of those like fancy things that you put watches in, right?
Because you don't actually have a thing to put in it?
I have 3 watches that I've put in them. 2 of the watches are pretty nice, and the other watch doesn't work and has a rubber band. So I'm probably, as soon as I get another watch, I'm taking that one out and putting another one in.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Very nice.
So, and as per usual for an adult, I got a bottle of liquor. That's what
Nice.
adults receive for Christmas.
Yeah, I don't think I got any liquor, so I must not be an adult.
Yeah, you got books, like a 7th grader.
Books and a coat.
Yeah, you should get liquor.
I'm like a 4-year-old. Yeah.
Kinda. You should ask for liquor next year. I did ask for liquor. Ask for liquor and socks, because I need socks, and no one got me socks, and I'm like, man, I could really use some socks, you know?
Damn. I got some socks.
I have lots of socks, but none of them match. That's my problem.
Well, that is an issue.
I wear non-matching socks most days. Right now, I'm not wearing socks, because I'm an animal. I'm just in a straight foot to slipper. You know, so... That's what my life is, and I'm drinking coffee, and it's 5:15 in the day, and I've just had my breakfast, and I'm feeling good, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, you know, it's noon here, and I'm almost done my day, so.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
That's how our lives work.
The thing is, I may not be doing well, but I have $20.
You do. So you're doing better than that one person that I may or may not have cut out from the beginning.
Oh, don't cut it out. Come on, that's fun. Now you can't.
It's even funnier now if I cut it out because now you're referencing something no one's heard.
Yeah. All right.
Charlie is not making fun of someone that, in case I do cut it out, Charlie is not making fun of someone that is in desperate need of $20. He's making fun of someone that is an asshole and doesn't want to pay money that he owes other people.
When I make fun of the poor, I make sure it's not recorded. That's my go-to thing.
I usually cut it out, so it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a TV show. The rant he went on
last time was rough.
Oh, it was pretty bad. Even by my standards, that was pretty bad. But you know what? No harm, no foul. It's not like the Chinese government listens to this. I mean, so TV show. Television. Yeah,
so before we started here, you helped me come up with a title name, and you very accurately said, well, I'm sure that, you know, is because I gave you a very brief analysis or a summary of what the show was. What was my brief summary?
It was that there's like this civilization that lives just outside of human perspective and perception. And I said, well, I'm sure that this civilization is there, and no human knows about it until a young, plucky woman with a strange name discovers it and goes on an adventure. That was pretty much what I said.
Yeah, with no prompt. Anyway, the character's name, her name is Anddryes. Anddryes.
Okay. Anddryes.
Anddryes. And she's called Dries for short. Anddryes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I was going. Good. I feel like it's Anddryes. I was trying to come up with a future name, right? Anddryes sounded right, and I was like, oh, they could call her Dry for short, so Dries.
Yeah, that's pretty futuristic. More futuristic than mine.
Well, also there's a joke that's going to come from that later, so remind me if I forget to tell you why her name is that.
Good. I will.
So she's between 17 and 19. She's quiet, but she's quick with her words.
So she's
very
18.
good liar. I don't
between 17 and 19.
If we're casting, you know, somewhere between 17 and 19, I don't care.
Yeah, okay.
So she could be 17, 18, or 19.
It's just funny that you say, well, she's between the ages of 17 and 19. All right. So,
okay, Charlie. She could be 17 and 19. It's inclusive. It's not a exclusive.
If we cast this show, it has to be an 18-year-old. It has to be somebody who just got the right to vote.
Yes, exactly. So she's quiet, quick with her words. She's a good liar, very intuitive, afraid of heights, very distrustful, does not sleep well, has lots of nightmares, is very nervous. And she's the kind of person who would be content with living, like, alone. You know, she's a loner. Like, if the world was empty and she was the only person in it, she wouldn't be, like, happy with that. Like, that's not her ideal world, but she wouldn't go insane and kill herself. She would just, like, you know, go around the world and eat, and she would be, you know, her own company is fun.
That sounds great. That does sound like my ideal world. It's just me in the world, and I just get to walk around.
Really?
You know?
I would have said that you wouldn't be able to take that.
Nah, I'd be great. I have my dream job, and I have looked into it, is I want to be a lighthouse keeper. I think I'd be great at being a lighthouse keeper.
I feel like you need people.
Nah, I don't need people. I need, I just need, like, a companion. Like, I'll get a pet, or, like, one of those robot dogs that they used to sell in, like, 2009. It was all the rage. I get one of those to follow me around, or a Boston Dynamics dog, you know? Mm-hmm. That's all I need. I need somebody to bounce ideas off of. They don't really need to talk back.
Well, I mean, that's why it's you and me lurked in the space station here.
Exactly. It's great.
It is so
He never
great.
talks back. This is the only time he speaks, is when we're recording.
The only time I speak to you. Yeah, you play old episodes and in order to hear someone talk, but weirdly enough, you mute my track and you just listen to yours. So
it's the perfect
that shows
podcast.
You what's going on with his ego?
Yeah, exactly. It's the perfect podcast. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. So the pilot, Anddryes wakes up falling, until she smashes into the earth in a massive red splotch. Hard cut to her waking up with a jump. So it's like it's the dream.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She's alone at a smoldering campfire on the edge of a valley, tucked under a cliff. There's like a sort of limited desert-like vegetation. So it's not a desert. It's more like sort of a wasteland, sort of. But
like a tundra.
There's tundra. Tundra's a good word.
Yeah.
So she's leaning against the cliff, feeding the fire with like little bits of branches. And when the flame slowly comes back, she puts a pot on and boils some liquid. The sun slowly rises as she scans the horizon, which is suddenly blotted with a bunch of fiery dots in the distance. She quickly stamps out the fire and pulls a tarp over it. She presses against the wall and uses a beige blanket to blend in with the rock.
Ah, very much Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
She's being a stone.
Mm-hmm. The people reel around the valley, and after a long while, she leaves her cover because they're gone. She puts on a covering when the sun is up, like a big cloak poncho sort of thing, but doesn't cover her arm fully. And within an instant of the sunlight hitting her arm, it burns her hand. And she has to tuck it back into her coat. So we're getting the sense that the sun is not good.
It's too hot.
She drapes her arm under cover, walks under the canyon.
Or maybe she's a vampire.
We'll see.
Sun could be not good, or she's a vampire. Ooh.
She drapes her arm under cover and wanders around the canyon to a herd of beasts tucked into a cave. She herds them out and across the valley, and after a long while, she reaches a farm protected by an electric fence and a rusty auto turret. She brings the animals in and greets her ma and pa. They don't look very much like her. That's all I wrote in, so I don't, they just don't look like her at all.
Yeah. Okay.
They're both humans, but if you saw these people in the street, you'd be like, "That's not their kid. Who the hell is that?"
She's adopted, or they're lying to her. One of the two.
One of the two. So Pa scolds her for staying out at night and notices her arms burns, which is already healed, but he can tell because it's very fresh-looking skin. It looks very pink.
Yeah.
Says something about how just because she heals faster than most people doesn't mean she shouldn't be more careful. And she can't risk showing it off again, or they'll have to move town again. She helps her mom shear the animals, put them in the barn. Some of the wool they use to make tarps, others for clothes. And so we can see them setting up these tarps and stuff around the house, and it's becoming evident that whatever this wool is, it helps defend against whatever the problem with the sun is, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you have to make your clothes out of this. You have to put tarps over your house with this so that, none of the sun gets in and burns you.
And these aren't just sheep. I assumed that they were just kind of sheep-looking guys, but they're not just sheep,
I was kind of imagining, like, the sort of shape of a bull, but, like, really, I imagine, like, a really thick coat, like, almost comically thick.
Uh-huh.
So, like, when you shave them down, it looks like a bull,
comical.
kind of.
Yeah.
But when it's really puffy, it's, like, maybe, like, 2 feet of...
Yeah. Oh.
Of wool and thickness.
Of wool. Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm. And then when they're weaving it, they're weaving it, like, very compact, so that there's like no holes in the wool, and so it, like, this big thick wool is actually, when it's shorn down, really just makes a pretty thin fabric because it's so pressed into it.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So, Dries offers to take the cloth into town to sell it, but her father says that they can do that tomorrow. It's too late to head out now, and she's like, well, but no, we'll get the best price if we go out now, and, I can do it. And he's like, no, we're going to go in. Come on, we'll eat dinner and we can go to bed. We can do it tomorrow. It doesn't matter, how much money we make off of it. But you can also see the farm's kind of dilapidated, and they can use the money. And Dries can see this as well. Uh-huh. She does it anyway to prove to him that she can be useful and doesn't need to be protected. She grabs one animal before it's sheared, and uses him to lug a big cart through the night. So they have this big cart with all the sheeps, the whatever, the coat, the wool thing.
Yeah.
And then we got this, the animal lugging along. They're going through the dark together.
I'm gonna call it a shoal.
Caravan.
I'm gonna call it a shoal.
Shoal?
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good name, shoal.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're going through the night. She has a massive tarp ready in the back of the cart, and at one point has to hide them along a boulder and snuff out her torch to avoid a group passing their way, riding horses draped in the same wool.
Ooh.
She makes it to town and is recognized by the guard and let in. It looks kind of like Moss Isley in the sense that, like, it's a very flat area, and they've got these sort of, like, igloo-looking
like kind of New Mexican
sort of bigger
style, everything's like a white stone, flat, I forget what that's called, what that building style's called, but it's cool. It's a good aesthetic.
But over each home is like sort of a big tent, which is the tarps of this wool. So even there's all these coverings over the town, and they're sort of meshed together to the point where the whole town is under this covering. So during the day in this town, you could walk outside and you could go around.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about getting burned.
Like a football stadium. Yeah.
But you can notice, like, you can see the moonlight through this tarp, so you can see the tarps are thinning and they need to be replaced. So some of them are thicker and they don't need to be replaced, but some of them are thinner, so you can see, like, a disparity between, where repairs need to be made and where not.
Yeah, maybe we have, like, little signs, like, or nets, or not nets, like fences around, like, the spots that are thinning. And it's just like, avoid walking here during daylight.
Yeah.
You will be burned. That sort of thing. Like a be careful floor wet situation, but more deadly.
Because the way the sun is working here is that the wool can protect you against it, but it slowly wears away at the wool eventually. So it's not pervious to the sun's power. So she enters the town. She sells the wool for triple what it's worth, to her surprise, because she got there well before any of the other farmers, and they're in desperate need of the wool. So, this was a gamble, and it worked out, and she's happy about it. And with some of her money, she wanders around the shops for a little bit, looking at all the stuff she could get, because she's like, I got some extra money, I could get something for myself if I wanted to.
Yeah, she's 17. Maybe she gets like new earrings or bracelets or candy or something.
Well, what she does
stuff.
spend her money on is she walks by this cool food place, and she stops by to get a bite for eat. She gets some noodles, bowl of noodles, and is interrupted by Tyro. Now I have to scroll up because I don't remember what I wrote for Tyro. I mean, I know who he is, but
Yeah.
the traits. So he's 30s, 40s, a traveling merchant. He's very friendly, but there's something kind of off.
There's a
about how friendly he
darkness
is.
to him. Yeah.
When he's smiling, it's not like it's a fake smile, but it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
But he's very charismatic, so he's got that from going for him.
Like
So,
John Goodman in 10 Cloverfield Lane, where he's friendly, but you know there's something fucky going on, you know?
It's like Tom Cruise in his normal
Like
life.
Tom Cruise in real life, yeah.
He talks with her about the roving party of bandits at night, so he's mentioned them. He calls them the Night's Hunt, which he describes as men riding clothed horses with silver flame torches.
Ooh.
She says they are just a myth, and didn't see them, though she kind of saw them.
did
He
see
then
them, yeah.
offers to, she's but she's just like, in denial about it. He offers to sell her a gadget to protect her, a device that captures the light of the sun during the day and can shine it for a limited time at night. And he shows it to her, and she's looking at it, and he trying to show her how it works, and he opens it, and it burns her arm by accident. And he apologizes, and he's like, for the trouble, I'll just give it to you for free. And she's like, whatever, okay. And she leaves. And as she's leaving, her sleeve sort of kicks up a little bit, and he sees that her arm is healed.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
Ooh.
So she continues home in the dark and runs into the roving hunters on her journey back, and she has to use the device on them, which wards them away, but doesn't kill them somehow, which confuses
Yeah.
her.
I have a
she hides
question
out in a
about the
cave.
roving hunters. Are these roving hunters kind of like the Wild Hunt in The Witcher 3? Are they like these silent warriors clad in like deathly armor, or are they like kind of like rednecks? Or like, hey, are they talking to her when she runs into them?
No.
And they're like, what's going on?
They're
No.
sort of menacing. They're more like the Wild Hunt, but not like armored, Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
very hooded and, very dark, confusing, mysterious.
Like the Nazgul. Okay.
Like the Nazgul. Yes, that's a better
Alright.
reference for what I'm looking for, look-wise. So, she wards him off, but doesn't kill him. She hides out in a cave and comes home in the morning to find her family has been killed, so very A New Hope-ish.
Oh,
She's
no.
in mourning when suddenly Tyro appears, seemingly out of nowhere, and helps her escape before the hunters find her. So he grabs her and pulls her behind a building. She tries to scream, but he covers her mouth, and then the hunters pass by, and she's like, "Oh shit!"
I had an idea in the first episode, and I didn't want to say it because I thought it might mess with something. But I was gonna suggest that when she arrives, the rusty auto turret turns onto her and tries to fire, but it dry fires. And then she says to her dad, "We really need to get that fixed. This place isn't safe if it ain't got no protection." And then her dad brushes her off "Oh, it's just there to scare people. We don't actually need it to kill anyone. It scares everybody away. That sort of thing. So we can show that their defenses are legitimately just for show. There's nothing actually defending them from the outside world."
So he he pulls her behind the way, a wall, and the hunters pass by, and he's like, we need to get out of here. And so they hide out for a little bit, and then they escape once it hits nightfall. And she's sad at all because her parents just died, but they're sort of racing against time here because they need to get away. And he keeps saying they're on her trail. And she's asking questions like, "How did you get here? How did you know?" And he's telling her that that she's special. She's like him, and she's not like the other people, and that's why she can heal, and they're after her because of that. And she's confused by what he's saying, obviously. And they need to, he's like, they need to get her away and up there before the hunters find her. So obviously still confused, but he's really not offering much besides very vague answers. And he keeps saying there's too much to explain. We just need to get out of here, and then I can explain everything. So they travel a long way through the wastes with the hunters on their tail, slowly getting closer and closer as time passes. So they got a bit of a jump because they snuck away, but the hunters picked up their trail. So she's asking questions as I was explaining, but he's like, I'll explain everything when we reach the stairs. And they reach the edge of the cliff, and 2 hunters have caught them. and the hunters are, just on the edge, and they're having to run up to the edge of the cliff, and or the hunters are on the lower part of the cliff, and they're having to run up to the edge of the cliff, and Tyra tells her open to her device and to ward them off, to use the power of the sun, and he opens it wider for her, which allows the sun to even more intensify, let off an even bigger blaze than it did before. Yeah. And it really pushes the hunters away, but still doesn't kill them. They're just, getting sent back and held away from them long enough that they can get to the edge of the cliff where a doorway is. She's pushed through the doorway by Tyro, who says, don't tell them about me. Or, one last thing right before he's like, oh, don't tell them about me. So this doesn't make any sense to her, but she's like, okay, that's something that we all just heard. And she's pushed through and everything goes white. Episode 3. Where do you think this is going, Charlie?
I'm gonna guess it's kind of like Tomorrowland, right? And the doorway, because I don't know how you pictured the doorway in your head, but I just kind of imagined it as an actual door, like a modern door, just sitting really surreally, just on the edge of a cliff, Mm-hmm. And
yeah, that's what.
Then he opens it, and it looks like it's completely blank, and there's not. It doesn't lead anywhere. It would just if she stepped through it, she'd fall off the cliff. And she's like, "What the hell are you trying to do? Kill me?" And he's like, "Remember, don't tell them about me." And he pushes her through, and she falls into this white void, almost. But I think it's gonna be there's a higher civilization that exists of this higher level kind of person, and they're gonna have weirdly world destructive goals, and so her real birth parents escaped because they didn't want her to become a villain or something or other, and so she's the chosen one, maybe.
Well, we're not going to get all of the details in this episode, Charlie, but you're getting on the right vein of things, because there may or may not be a to be continued at the end of this. But you are in the right vein of things. So, episode 3, Anddryes wakes up in a well-lit room. Her eyes take a minute to adjust, and she sees all white walls, a few chairs, and slowly comes to the realization that it's some sort of waiting room. She's sitting down in a chair already, and she looks up to the ceiling and sees the sun and panics. She starts cowering under a chair, and she's trying to cover herself, but she's looking at her skin, and it's not burning. And a voice over an intercom reassures her and tells her that the rays are filtered, and they'll be with her in a minute. So she gets back up, sits back in the chair, obviously very confused at what the hell this barrier is that is above her that looks like glass that's somehow filtering out the sun's ability to just murder her in a second.
Yeah.
And she's instructed to grab a new set of clothes that just sort of pop out of a chute. They're kind of like linens, sort of like robe wear.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like not like a jumpsuit per se, but very sort of linen-like pants, so pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
And then
flowy white linen clothes and probably some sort of sandal. If I had to guess, this seems like a sandal kind of society.
I hadn't really thought about the shoes, but sandals are fine, I guess. You know what? I don't want to see your toes. We can wear a normal shoe.
Okay, normal shoes, but maybe they're linen shoes. People wear those.
Sort of like
Crazy
a slipper.
People, they wear, wear a linen slipper.
A slipper, but it's got a heel to it, so it's not gonna fall off immediately.
Yeah.
So not a slipper is what I'm saying essentially. She's given an allotment of water and a set of food that she's familiar with, food that she's used to on her planet, in the wastes. And she's told that they will slowly bring her digestive system to their standards. So I don't mean that in a weird way. I mean literally she's only eaten this kind of food, so she's not used to. It's like if you hadn't eaten for a long time, and suddenly you're back into you're getting food again, and you have to sort of adjust to eating again. Your stomach has to slowly get used to it. Or if you've never had spicy food before, and your digestive system kind of craps out on you literally, and you spend a while in the bathroom.
Ooh.
That sort of
Got
thing.
him.
That's the reasoning behind this.
Yeah, maybe she gets
so
the
she's
noodles.
her body's got to adjust. She gets
Maybe
the
she
noodles. Oh, that's good,
Yeah.
Charlie. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
She gets the noodles. So the door opens and a man and a woman introduce themselves as Director Price and Investigator Harrow. So
Who's who?
Director Price is the woman. She is sort of an unbothered, analytical, measured person. Very tall, white hair, tight bun, very tired looking.
Tilda Swinton is going to be my guess for like.
Tilda Swinton's good. Maybe a little bit more. Who's the famous actress that is in Devil Wears Prada? She's in
Glenn Close.
The more famous actress that's in
Anne
Devil's
Hathaway?
Wears Prada. The more
Anne Hathaway.
famous actress? No, the woman that plays like the actual Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. Okay. No, Glenn Close
Yes.
is in 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Glenn Close is in that movie. I just thought
Yeah.
you were right. But I guess you're wrong. Anyway, so that's Director Price, and then we have Investigator Harrow, and he's this sort of snarly, gruff, thick mustache, very suspicious guy.
Yeah.
Probably has a Cockney accent, or you know,
Nick Offerman.
not very Cockney.
I was
Nick
just trying to
Offerman,
think
I feel
of-
like is also too like he's too comedic to play this guy.
Yeah.
He's too much
I was
of like
just trying to think of the thickest
a
mustache
funny
I
look
could
to him.
imagine.
You need like
Yeah.
a real mean looking guy to play this guy. Investigator Harrow's he's kind of a stickler, a dick.
Colin Farrell with a mustache.
No, Colin Farrell. Maybe Colin Farrell. Tom Hardy could probably do it.
Tom Hardy does have a thick mustache. That man can grow
He could have
some
a good
facial hair, and he loves an
Good
accent.
mustache.
Yeah.
Probably someone taller though, because I feel like Investigator Harrow has to be someone that's very tall, because it's sort of he's supposed to be imposing.
Yeah. Well, I'm
always
imagining these
looking
two are
down at
like angelic figures, so they may be like unnaturally tall. You know, that's kind of how I imagine them. Is that they come in and they're like 6'5". You know, they're like really tall. Not so tall that a human
Something you'll
couldn't be
notice is
tall.
that the people in this society, they don't actually look all that different from normal humans.
Okay.
We can make these two particularly or strangely tall though. Not like 6'5", but like make them like between 6 foot
6'2".
and 6'4".
Yeah.
Maybe Director Price is 6 foot and he's 6'4", or 6'5". Yeah. So, they don't know how she got there, and they question her. She lies. She's like, I just went through a doorway. And they're
Yeah.
like, was anyone with you? And she's like, no.
I was being chased.
And Harrow
by,
doesn't believe her.
Yeah, of course.
But Price says they must follow protocol without any proof of a violation of the Accords. So there's clearly something here that we don't quite understand yet. And she has to be processed and let into higher life without any barriers. So Harrow is bothered by this, but lets it pass reluctantly. And she goes through a series of medical tests and examination, is found to be at a suboptimal performance for their kind, but well above average of the normal species. And she will adjust to, after time in the hub. She's like, they're going through and they're saying like, oh, you're nutritionally very starved and you're missing out on all this stuff, but over time we'll, get you up to your, full, potential.
She has the blood work and capability to be great, but right now she's just kind of below average because
She's suffering from all sorts of diseases and stuff, and they just need to,
she's got
get her
gout.
back on track.
She's got gout,
She lived in a wasteland for most of his life, and
Yeah.
we'll see, like, when we're in the town, there's not a lot of kids, and it's kind of like very rare that you can make it through life at, in like get to adulthood in the wasteland, and you can end up with a lot of, and her, sort of unknowingly that her sort of advanced genetics actually helped her a lot. So like she would have died if she was anyone else, because she was a very, outgoing and kid doing a lot of risky stuff.
Yeah. Always getting
doing
that
dangerous
one
things.
arm burned. Mm-hmm.
So she goes through an education course where Mr. Olag, who's her teacher, explains that she's a higher being who evolved from humans naturally. And they all are. but she is one of the very few who evolved separately from the rest of the bunch, and therefore has a stronger connection to their root genetics. So, making up a lot of stuff here.
I was
only
just gonna
those
say
that are born.
It's
what
Exposition Central. Choo choo.
Yeah, so a lot of class stuff. Well, I'll probably put this in more naturally, if in the actual script if we were to do the show.
Yeah.
But I just gotta drop stuff on you because it's explaining time. So only those that are born from one of the founding families or evolved naturally have this ability. And she asks about this, and he explains by burning her arms. So he burns both their arms, and hers heals instantly, but his takes, he says, days. So he still has a burn mark there on his arm. And he explains that they all evolved thousands of years ago from humans and left well before humanity started recording history. They've only returned in an observational capacity to watch over humanity as a way to determine how they evolved and sort of replicate that process as their evolutionary advantages falter down the line. And he explains that as they pass their traits on from generation to generation to generation, their advantages have slowly started to go away because you could see that her arm heals instantly and his doesn't. So there's something wrong there, and they're trying to figure out how to fix it because they don't want to lose their longer life, their extended life, and their healing abilities, and their increased, everything else.
Intelligence and strength and stuff like that. They are the Homo superior.
So he explains her situation and how they'll probably be excited to study her, safely, of course. He clarifies, though she must keep this quiet for now because they're still discussing how they don't know how the world will react if they knew that they found someone she's the first person they found that has evolved naturally.
Yeah.
So she gets out and goes through some other classes before being directed into a row of apartments where she's given a room with a nice view of the sun. So, it's a pretty cool spot, on like a sort of space station-like thing. But you can never actually see the whole thing. So her view just shows the sun. We're never actually going to see what this whole place looks like.
Maybe she, every day she we could do a cool montage of every day she wakes up, and as soon as she sees the sun, she automatically, muscle memory hides herself, and then after a few seconds she gets up and and we could show that slowly goes away the longer she lives there. I don't know how long you expect her to be there, but that could just be a good showing her, acclimatizing to this new environment.
That could be good, 'cause she's going to be here for a while, essentially the rest of the show. Yeah. She gets out, and, she goes to her apartment, and we get the nice view, and then her across-the-hall neighbors introduce themselves, Lyle and Boris, who she makes fast friends with. So Lyle and Boris are kind of like they're the Hermione and Ron of her Harry Potter, essentially. So Lyle is the Hermione type, bright but a stickler for the rules and always nagging on his brother, who is Boris. Boris is Lyle's brother.
All right.
Boris is a jokester who gets bored easily, likes excitement, but not the brightest, but not quite stupid. So Boris is the fun bro, but Lyle is the smart one. So that they quickly become friends, mainly because they live across from each other, and they're nice people. Essentially, Boris and Lyle, they're just, they see someone's their neighbor now, and they're like, well, we'll be friends with their neighbor.
And
maybe when they first get there, they either, knock her over, or they accidentally, break something, so they feel bad, so they offer to hang out. Maybe she's carrying something, and they knock it over, and then they feel bad, so they help her out, and help her move into her place, and get her set up, and show her the ropes.
Able to tell them that she comes from the world beyond, or whatever you want to call it, the regular planet that the normal people live on? Or does she have to come up with a lie, my other house is under renovation, so they moved me here through no with no raising rent or whatever? Is she kind of been fed a lie by the government so that the rest of the people don't know? So she's been given a
backstory that she has to follow for now, a very vague, she just got transferred from the other side, and she's moving here now. And they'll ask her questions, and she has sort of vague answers that she doesn't really even understand herself. I grew up here, I did this, but she's pretty quiet, and they can sort of tell that, and they can tell that she doesn't like giving answers. and they're not pushy.
Maybe
nice
Boris just accepts the answers, like, oh, okay, that's cool, and then Lyle is a bit more like, okay, and so Lyle kind of catches on that there's something else going on here, but Boris, again, is too stupid to really get it, or just not observant enough to
just
understand
doesn't care,
that.
you know?
Yeah.
So she seems to be getting used to life at the hub. As she explores the garden to start getting used to their food, is sort of actually enjoying her education courses as she sees like all the wonders that this, you know, civilization has discovered. But as you know, one day when Boris and Lyle are showing them around, they pass the Central, which is the place where it's like City Hall, like the governor's, you know, place, where all the legislature, everyone that's important, everyone that matters, that legally, sort of like governmental capacity, works in the Central. And as she's passing by, Lyle points out to her, Minister Roland Seedorf, and she looks over at him, and it's Tyro.
Oh.
Bum, bum, bum. To be continued. That's the end of my pitch for now, Charlie. Where's it gonna go? I don't know. I didn't write the rest of it, besides a very brief outline for me to worry about later.
For you to worry about later, and for us to enjoy later. I liked it a lot. What was the name again? Give us the name one more time.
I don't think I said the title before, but we came up with it somewhat together. It's called Under the Plains of Azure.
Yes.
Under the Plains of Azure.
Under the Plains of Azure. I know you hadn't said the title, and I wanted to remind you to say it.
Thank you. I forgot the joke. Oh, I forgot the joke. You didn't remind me either. Okay, well, I guess technically the joke doesn't really come into play until the second season. Now that I think about it, because it's gonna give you a spoiler, or not the second season, the next episode. So I set up the joke to excite you, but I actually can't tell you now that I think about it.
Okay, so the joke setup is in this episode. Episode 181 is the setup. Episode 253, whenever you get to this, second half of the show, that's when we'll get the punchline, and I'm excited about it.
That's when we'll get the punchline. I should never even release the second half, I think.
No, never do. Do it like I've done with House of Malice, where I have like a good chunk of a full script completed. I know exactly what's gonna happen with it, but I'm just like, nah. No one does.
Or Res Publica, which we are waiting on season 4 for.
Yeah, we
desperately.
Are. Yeah.
Desperately. It's gonna happen next year, because when this episode comes out, Charlie, it will be New Year's Day.
It will be New Year's Day. Happy New Year's, everybody. I hope you're all enjoying it with friends and family, or with people that you don't like who can't find $20. And thank you.
Where are you spending New Year's? Where are you right now, Charlie?
I am in Scotland, and I'm planning on spending New Year's in Scotland. I might New Year's Eve I might be working. New Year's Day I will probably be sleeping.
Nice. Damn.
You know how it be.
I'm the complete opposite. Eve. New Year's Eve I will be sleeping. New Year's Day I will be working.
Oh. Reporting all that
Nothing
news.
Like. Yeah, gotta wake up at 1:30 to be the guy that tells you Happy New Year at 4:30.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm not the guy that says Happy New Year. Somebody else is. I have to write the words Happy New Year though.
That's a good job. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me has always been my co-host.
Oh, you forgot for a second there.
It really
did. You know what the podcast is called?
It fell out of my head for a second. I'm just such a good host. Editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series for you to imagine and enjoy. Thank you for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast over all of 2023. I know you all have been listening, tuning in every episode. And we'll see you in 2024. See you next year.
Maybe with a House of Malice script.
Yeah. Oh, and just to tease next week's episode, I do have to let you guys know, let everyone know that there will be the return of a character, a well-loved character, a much maligned character, somebody that you spoiled it.
Is that actually it? I fucking guessed it right away.
You did.
I can cut that part out if you want. I could beep it.
Yeah, beep it. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.